Thank you for joining us for our August 9th work session. Can I get a motion first, please, to go into special session?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. First, we have a public hearing for the renewal and expansion of the Hagerstown, Washington County Enterprise Zone. Hi, Doug.
Hello, good evening. So here for a public hearing for the renewal of the Hagerstown, Washington County Enterprise Zone for 2022 to 2032. The Enterprise Zone provides property tax credits for construction and rehabilitation.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Go ahead and swear you in
Oh,
before
sure.
you
Yes.
start, okay? So raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the responses given and statements made will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So the Enterprise Zone provides property tax credits, construction or rehabilitation investments, and provides income tax credits for job creation. The Enterprise Zone was established in Hagerstown in December 14th of 1992 by the city and county, and two subsequent renewals in 2002 and 2012, including an expansion of 2021. This renewal term would be a term of 10 years, and the renewal and expansion will enable the city and county to market this area for economic development. So Enterprise Zone benefits, it includes for commercial projects only. There are two components for an incentive. The first is real property tax credits, which provides 10-year credit against local real property taxes on the value of a portion of real property improvements. Properties located in the city receive tax credits on both city and county property taxes, and local jurisdictions receive a 50% reimbursement back from the state on any lost revenues. Years 1 through 5 would be an 80% in the change in assessed value. Year 6 would be 70%. Year 7 would be 60%. Year 8, 50%. Year 9, 40%. And year 10, 30%. Income tax credits provide 1 or 3 year credit for wages paid to eligible new employees. General credit is a one-time $1,000 credit per new worker. For economically disadvantaged employees, credits increase to a total of $6,000 per worker distributed over 3 years, or $2,000 per year for 3 years. Included is a map of the current Enterprise Zone as well as the areas that we're looking to expand. The orange represents the current Enterprise Zone, and the green areas represented on the map represented are areas that we're looking to expand. This is just a statistical area to give a little more background of the areas that we're looking to expand. Again, the green areas are the areas that we're targeting. The first addition area would be the area just north of Wilson Boulevard. We did have to go through some residential zoning to get to the industrial, but we focused on this expansion in the industrial zoned areas. The second would be, again, just north of Wilson Boulevard. The third addition area includes the the Hagerstown Industrial Park, as well as the development occurring just north of Edgewood Drive on Howell Road. And the fourth addition area would be the area between Burhans and Washington Street. All of these addition areas were concurrently looked at between county and city staff from the planning department and economic development. Here's some zoning maps for the first area, showing the targeted area of expansion. For the second area, target area expansion of, just north of Wilson Boulevard. The third area, representing a large section of industrial, general, restricted, and mixed use. And then the fourth area, just north of Burhans, representing commercial, local, as well as industrial. So typically, the mayor and council leave the record open for 10 days to accept additional written comments, which can be forwarded to staff at councilcomments@hagerstownmd.org. Staff plan to return to mayor and council on August 23rd to discuss the testimony provided, introduce a resolution to renew and expand the Enterprise Zone. If the resolution is approved, it will be submitted to Maryland Department of Commerce as part of a joint application with Washington County. The Maryland Department of Commerce will review the application to renew and expand the zone and make the final determination of any areas that are added. I guess we have some comments, so I'll pause there.
Do you guys have any questions for Doug? No? Okay. There was no one signed up to speak for or against. Is there anyone that would like to speak? All right, we'll keep the record open for 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, approval of a resolution, Fourth Amendment to Real Estate Purchase and Sale Agreement for a portion of 441 South Potomac Street with Columbia Gas of Maryland.
Madam Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and council approval of a resolution to approve the Fourth Amendment to the Real Estate Purchase and Sale Agreement for a portion of 441 South Potomac Street with Columbia Gas of Maryland, Inc. This amendment extends the settlement date to October 21st, 2022. The mayor is further authorized to execute and deliver the agreement.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And approval of funding for improvements to professional court.
Mayor, consistent with the June 1st, 2020 agreement with Professional Boulevard, I hereby move to authorize the allocation of $3.3 million for the widening of Professional Court to 4 lanes and associated improvements to Eastern Boulevard. I further authorize Washington County to contract with Concrete General for the completion of the construction on our behalf and for staff to reimburse the county for said construction. I further authorize the renaming of Professional Court to Professional Boulevard upon the substantial completion of the construction.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're going to move on to our work session. Up first today, we have a discussion with Western Maryland Scenic Railroad. And we have with us today the Mayor of Frostburg, Mayor Flanagan, Wesley Hines, and Nathaniel Watts. You guys could come join us. I can sit down
Yeah,
here
you
if you like.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
I'm gonna say I really am. Greetings from Frostburg, Allegheny County, and all
Thank
wonderful
you.
places west.
Good to see you.
Because I know Hagerstown's west like we are, and so the state's supposed to stop at Frederick. But anyway, really appreciate you all taking time for us today. Give you just a little bit of background about myself. I've been mayor now, this is my 7th term. I've just reelected to 2-year terms in Frostburg. And since 2013, I've been on the board of the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad as well as the vice president. Train world in my life runs very, very deep. The Western Maryland came through Frostburg. As a small child, I had no choice but to be grabbed by the hand, and down we went. My dad and I to watch Western Maryland come through. That was about 1975. In 1988, there was this great plan to bring more tourism a little further west. And I know that at one point there was discussion about what we're going to discuss today, which is the Western Maryland 202. A different direction was taken. Today, I'm sure if you've all followed our success, we've had some great success over the last 12 months. We fortunately were able to acquire from the B&O Museum what is a very, very large steam locomotive, a good bit bigger than Western Maryland 202, Chesapeake, Ohio 1309, the last Baldwin built. This engine that you all have in your park is also a Baldwin, and this year she celebrates her 110th birthday, and we have a plan for her, and that's to make her operate again and steam again. And Wes is going to tell you more about that when he gets on mic here shortly, but we'd like to start this conversation with you all. And again, I'm not really representing the city of Frostburg as far as being the mayor. I'm representing it as from our tourism industry, bringing people west. And static displays, as CNO 1309 was, they're great, but they're static. They don't do anything. And what we do is we make static run. And so after the success that I feel as though we've just had with 1309 and the fact that we feel that 202 is a very good candidate, sorry, it's like a ship, you say she has a gender, but we feel as though that this would be an excellent candidate for 2 very important reasons. One, there's only 2 left that were originally Western Maryland. The Cass has one of them, which came from the B&O Museum. And secondly, there's the 202 and the fact that the 202 ran through Frostburg. She shined the same rails we want her to shine again, and we want it to shine on all of us. So I'm going to quickly move and let Wes, our CEO, take over here for me. And again, I appreciate the time today, and I'll have a closing remark. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Nathaniel. Sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Wesley Hines. I'm the Executive Director of the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad. This is Nathaniel Watts. He's our Chief Mechanical Officer And we just wanted to say thank you first for hearing us out. As Mayor Bob said, the Western Maryland has really been through a lot over the years. It was originally conceived as a way to bring tourism, as he said, to the western part of the state. And it has done that in various iterations and with various degrees of success. Nathaniel and I both have been part of restoring and operating steam locomotives all over the South. Nathaniel has 25 years of experience with it. I've got about 30 years experience with it. And here we are at Western Maryland. We have made Western Maryland our homes. We have moved from outside of the area, from North Carolina. I'm from New Hampshire, via New York, Nashville, Atlanta, Chicago, and a couple other places. So the 202, we are, the preservation community is very small. We are aware that before COVID, there at least was some kind of initiative from Hagerstown to reconstruct and improve the shed and the locomotive and all the various pieces in the park. We have been to the park, ironically enough, never inside the park to see the engine because it was always locked. So 2 steam engine nuts, we can't even get in to see it. We can see it from a distance. So we've kind of looked at it over the last year and a half, 2 years, and we've had this discussion over dinner a couple of times about what we might be able to offer the city of Hagerstown to make it something special that the city could be proud of. I am sales and marketing, Microsoft, Samsung, AT&T, Procter & Gamble. So I always come up with kooky ideas on how you tie everything together and make people want to buy things. So the steam engine is no different, and I think that we can do something that would benefit Hagerstown. So we kind of coined it in conversation, the spirit of Hagerstown or the pride of Hagerstown. I think pride of Hagerstown would say a lot more about the city from a marketing standpoint. The concept is simply this. We would like to relocate the steam locomotive to Western Maryland Scenic Railroad in Cumberland, preferably by transfer of ownership, but that could be done as a donation. We could do it as a simple lease between Western Maryland Scenic and the city of Hagerstown, or some kind of trade. I've spoken with several private individuals that own locomotives. They're not steam locomotives, but they are indigenous Western Maryland Railway locomotives that they would be willing to have us cosmetically restore and replace the steam locomotive where it sits today. We'd like to evaluate and restore the 202 because it's really capable of showcasing Maryland's railroading history, being a living, breathing touchstone to the past for the future generations. Really says a lot more than the engine becoming just sitting there and being kind of a playground piece, if you will, where people can't see it move. It comes alive for kids. You know, we would be committed to operating the engine, and our concept would be to construct an annual event. We've discussed having it where members of the, residency, people with residency in Hagerstown could receive a benefit to ride the train at any time, and that would be across all ticketing platforms. But the other concept was to have an annual event that the money from that weekend would generate funds for City Park so that there could be additional education. Maybe it is playground material, or maybe it's just things that kids can work with and interact with. So that was a concept that we had discussed. The 202 would become an ambassador for Hagerstown. Last year we carried about 45,000 people, and I do want to say, I didn't put it in this deck, the railroad last year when I came in, and I have to give Mayor Bob a lot of the credit, Delegate Mike McKay, I was brought in June. The railroad was in very poor condition. In the 7 months that myself and Nathaniel and those that work under us came in there, we actually had the best year the railroad had ever had, and we did it in 7 months. So we have worked very hard. The young men and women that are at the railroad now, I can't say enough about them. Almost all of them came to y'all's area. And we come to Hagerstown and spend some of our dollars here. We like to come here and eat and hang out and do things. Anyway, that being said, the engine rolling would be seen by tens of thousands of people. Every day that we run the 1309 through the Narrows and through the different areas there between Cumberland and Frostburg, people are just falling out trying to watch a train run. One of the things that it would do, I sat down and tried to brainstorm what it would do to help you guys out. Not having the engine here, considering the condition it's in today, it could relieve Hagerstown of the responsibility, the upkeep of the shed and the locomotive as a static display, and we would take on the responsibility of preserving and operating and protecting the locomotive and maintaining it as an operable piece of history. The potential to preserve and display an alternative piece, again, several people I've talked with have said they have locomotives that are indigenous to the Western Maryland Railway, and we would partner with them if we wanted to, and you guys wanted us to put a different locomotive there. That's something that's an option. One of the things that we've been very passionate about is making sure we build community partnerships, and this is no different. We'd like to have a relationship with Hagerstown that is seen as a partnership between the two communities, the two areas. I like to think that Hagerstown all the way to the border is Western Maryland. Everything else is, that's something else going on in that direction. So anyway, and I included some, couple of cool pictures. The 202 at the station. If any of you, have all of y'all been to our railroad? Anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Just one person's been to the railroad? Well, y'all gotta come ride the
Polar
railroad.
Express.
Can we? Yes.
You need to come ride the railroad. Bring, I'll leave my business card. If y'all will come out and ride, bring your family and friends, we'll make sure that you get on the train. We have ice cream trains that we do for kids.
So we might not get on the train.
Even more so.
So there you go.
We're there.
There's all kinds of things. Again, it's not about running trains. It's not about profit from the trains. Western Maryland Scenic Railroad is actually Western Maryland Scenic Railroad Development Corporation. It is all about community. It's all about family. The ice cream trains, for instance, our initiative, it's $10 per person. You get a cup of chocolate or vanilla ice cream. You hop on the train. Most of the people, and I'm not sure what your demographics are, but in Western Maryland, deep Western Maryland, families can't afford to ride the train all the time. But if they do $10 ice cream for 40 or 50 bucks, they can bring a family of, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids and do it under $50. It's very quick. It's 30 minutes out, 30 minutes back, but it gives the families an option. And when we do the ice cream trains, they sell out. When we do Polar Express, we actually dropped the prices over what the railroad had done for years past, and we created a way where families can come out. And again, having the 202 there would be a great asset to us, but I think there's a way to make it work for you guys so that kids can actually see the thing moving. Because sitting there is cool to look up at it, but to see it moving and breathing is something special. And it's not that far from Hagerstown. I mean, we got here in an hour. So, some of the things we've already touched on, community support outreach, that's been our big mantra. We rebranded and reimagined the railroad last year so that it really touched back on the history. We challenged the board to come up with a mission statement. The mission statement, simply put, is to preserve, educate, operate, and rebuild these machines for the enjoyment of the public. We don't see it as a Cumberland-centric deal. We see it as a Western Maryland-centric piece. We did carry over 45,000 people last year. We're on track this year for 60,000. By the time we get through the fall and through Polar Express, we'll be right at 60,000 people, which I think puts us solidly in a position of one of the larger tourist draws in the Western Maryland region. We did complete the overhaul of 1309. It is the most complex restoration. How many have we done?
I've been involved in 6 from start to finish, so.
And I've done about the same number. It was, understand that, and this will get personal, the two of us, we gave up our families and our houses to do this crazy stuff. So it was the most complex restoration either one of us have done. I hope that we never, there's only one engine I would do it again for. It is the largest operating locomotive of its type in preservation. It's really cool.
Second largest operating in the world.
Yep. So, Western Maryland Scenic, we have championed creating new jobs. The new jobs we've created at the railroad represent about $1 million in payroll for us. And that is, those are not 50 jobs at $10 an hour. That is 10 jobs at $50,000 an hour, or $50,000 a year. I know, come work for me, right? Long story short is, we want to make sure that Western Maryland Scenic can support the people that work there, support the community, and give back to the community by making it their homestead, buying cars, having houses, kids in schools, things like that. We have put a lot of money from the railroad into our employees by offering them full tuition assistance. If they want to go to college, we will pay for it, pay for their books and make sure they have an education, however they choose. Social media presence, I did go out and look at what you guys have, what we have. We touch about 600,000 viewers worldwide. And I can go out and look and pull and see where we're impacting the other tourist entities within Allegheny County, Garrett County, in that area. I think that 202 could be a catalyst for increasing Hagerstown's visibility. I think that you can take the engine pride of Hagerstown and you can tie it back to things that are going on here in your local community, and you can build presence on the internet, which my generation, I like paper, but the new generations that are coming forward, they definitely have a panache for social media, and we have talent. We have volunteer talent that does all of our marketing for us, and they understand how to make it work. I just send them pictures and tell them what I'm trying to accomplish. But I think we could help Hagerstown boost some presence on the internet and do some cool things there. Again, we would be wide open to any kind of events that would help you guys as a community, and the partnership part is key. We do provide an interactive environment through operating the railroad. We bring history to life. It isn't something where you just hop on the train and take the train ride. We try to make it something fun. Depending on the time of year, it's completely different. The mayor actually rode this year in the winter. We opened up and stayed operating every weekend. We never closed. So 7 out of 9 weekends in the winter, it snowed for us. And the mayor's lived there his entire life, and I remember him commenting the first day that we ran, it snowed, and he said, I've been on this railroad dozens and dozens of times over the years. It's the first time I ever saw it snow. And when it's snowing up there, you can look out and see for 10 miles, and the deer ran on cue. We pushed the button and the deer started running next to the train. It's fantastic. As he said, the 202 is the only engine of its type left of the Western Maryland. The other one is in cast, but the 202, we would love the opportunity to bring it alive and let it be seen by people and make it something impressionable, not only for Western Maryland, but obviously for you guys. We are one of the top tourist destinations in railroad preservation in the world. We're certainly in the top 10 in the United States, if not the top 5. So people do like to come to Western Maryland. Let's give them another reason to come. We call ourselves the economic engine of the community, and we'd love to ignite the imagination of anybody that will come out and watch these trains run. I gave you a couple of the pieces of marketing in a photograph that we use. You'll notice it looks old, and that's on purpose. We want to make sure that we are trying to present the future through a historic lens. And then we found the last page here. Let's bring the pride of Hagerstown to life. That's actually what the engine looked like when it was delivered from Baldwin. That's what it looked like. Of course, it doesn't look quite like this today, but we would love to make that happen for you guys, and obviously for us, and keep bringing people out to this part of the state. Do you have anything to add?
Not really. You do such a great job of covering it all.
So, do y'all have any questions for us? Again, Nathaniel and I both have been privileged. You know, these pieces of equipment, it's a privilege to get to run them and restore them. It's not an entitlement. And we feel very humbled that we get to do it. We both have been part of some of the more significant pieces of history that are out there operating. Nathaniel actually did the restoration on a Civil War engine that is on display in Atlanta, and it was taken back to its original motif for the most part.
It was 1870s appearance post-Civil War.
So,
Its last rebuild is what it represents now.
and we both have been part of the restoration of some of the steam locomotives that work for different tourist lines that are tied to museums. I could give you a bunch of numbers, but it would be boring. You might know 611, 4501, those are the two big ones. Anyway, we'd like to make 202, you know, should this information get outside of here, we've kept it very quiet, what our intentions were to come to speak to you about. In the rail fan community, it would be they'd be out here taking pictures tomorrow. For some reason, people gravitate towards these things. We would just like to make it a reality and see it happen and roll, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, you had something to add?
Yes. Again, just want to thank you all for, members out there. We'd like to say if we keep this calm going, moving forward, I know you all, these things you want to talk about, I know you're going to have questions for these guys
Sure.
and myself, but let's say we had a good start here, okay?
Thank you for
You
coming.
need to come ride the train,
Yes.
it's fun.
I'll leave my cards.
Yeah.
If you send me an email, I'll make sure you have tickets. Just let me know what you want to do.
Get my grandson up there this year for that.
Yes,
There you go.
mine too.
I was at a Western Maryland banquet in Annapolis in March, and they all said that Hagerstown was Western Maryland East. So it was interesting, you guys consider us Western Maryland, because the other folks there were like, you're not actually Western Maryland, you're like Western Maryland East. I'm like, well, I don't think that's the case if you ask the people that live here.
No, our running ground tends to be Hagerstown. Sometimes we venture down to Virginia, but most of the time, I mean, you guys are where we come to, so.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us
Thank you.
today and for
And
the
I'll leave
information.
Okay, thank you all. Nice
Thank you.
meeting
Thank you.
Scott, be in contact.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. So up next, we are going to have a discussion about the lobbyist. So, as you guys are aware, last legislative session, a couple weeks in, we did hire a lobbyist firm to represent us on one single issue, and that was the field house. And they have now put up a proposal to represent us, year-round on all issues. So this would be, thank you, very similar to what Smithsburg does, the county does, the school board does. And so we would have someone in Annapolis full-time representing on our legislative priorities that we're gonna go over today. So just trying to get the head nod, if that is okay with you guys, that they are going to come here sometime next month to sit down with us here and have this conversation again and go over our priorities, what's going on in the city, visit the field house site, among other things. So, we good with that? Any questions, thoughts?
I'm good with it.
Good with it. I thought you were gonna say something. You're good? Okay. Thank you. I guess up next, we are gonna discuss our 2023 legislative priorities. So, I can begin, or if you guys have any. All right, well, I guess I'll begin. So, I did meet with Chief Kiefer last week to discuss police legislative priorities. We did, last year, Delegate Cham put in a bill on behalf of the city about dirt bikes. It didn't get out of committee. The bill was written in a way that someone riding a dirt bike illegally could be criminally charged. It did not go over well, and there wasn't success in it. So we revisited what he thought was a potential way to at least get some teeth that they don't have now, but could be presented in a different way. So instead of one rider, it would be 3 or more, which is similar to a gang, like what's considered a gang, riding in an aggressive way, antagonizing people, and acting together to commit a crime. So I think at this point, we got to try to do something. And, we tried last year, it didn't work, we try again, and this makes it a little more than just one person riding down the street, which is still equally as frustrating. I'm not saying that it's not, but this is trying to get it to at least get out of committee so we can have a discussion with the entire legislative body in Annapolis. So are you guys agreeable on that?
Yes.
Okay, cool, thanks. The next one I have was tax sale properties. I feel like we're a broken record here. We've been talking about this, and now we have $1 million sitting there, so trying to figure out legislation to move that one faster, that process on faster, so we can acquire properties and demolish them, or rehab them, or get them in someone else's hands that gets them out of the shape that they're in now.
So if I can only add one suggestion to that, would be not only tax sale properties, but abandoned properties
Yeah.
that are abandoned for a particular period of time, whether they're current on taxes or not, that we would have more of a streamlined process to be able to go in and basically decide the fate for it.
Yeah, that's good with that.
Yes.
I know, well, I believe an MML legislative priority, which I think we should back, is the Police Accountability Board. Right now, it's a function of the county, so municipalities are trying to have the ability to have their own police accountability board. So they're not required to, they can use the counties if they want, but since we have to have a police accountability board, it provides the opportunity for municipalities to have their own. So, no. Okay. I think it's gonna be an MML priority, but,
Well, I voted against it, I'm out for it.
okay. Well. Next, I have hotels. We've already started to have this conversation, but something that we can do to regulate hotels and the things that are happening in them, the ones that become nuisance hotels like we are quite familiar with in our community. I will be honest with you, I'm not quite sure what that looks like yet, other than what we're trying to do internal of the city already, but I've been searching and looking at what other states did, but I just feel like there's gotta be something that we can do to help the living situations of people who are living in these hotels, as well as the nuisance factor that it's causing on our police, our EMS, and our community in general. Another thing, this isn't specific to the city, but I think it's something that we should back, because as you are aware, we have been talking a lot about the substance use and mental health issues that our city is facing. We hear you loud and clear, everyone. We want to do something about this. And the health department is having trouble getting and retaining people because of low pay. Again, it's not directly a city issue, but it's a county issue, and it is decided through the state. So I think that there's something that we should push so they have the ability to hire peer support specifically, and even their crisis position has been available for 2 years now. They're down about 5 employees, they were down about 8. And it's been a constant issue, and something I think we should at least support the increase, because we know across the state we have a severe lack of clinicians and people in that field.
Is that a pay increase? Okay.
Yeah. And the last one that I have, I think we should explore, is when someone is court-ordered to a treatment center, that before they are released or kicked out, that it is required that they have a home plan for them. Because we are seeing an uptick of people that are being dismissed from particular treatment centers in this city and county, and then they end up homeless because there's nowhere to go. One, I don't think that's fair. Two, I understand if you break the rules that you need to be dismissed from a facility, but throwing people out on the street is not helping anyone. So I think that that's something that we should explore. That would be for court-ordered treatment services.
Yes, 100%.
That was all I had.
And that
For
goes
now.
hand in hand with my first priority, which is inmate release. I know that we tried years ago. I know that Senator Quarterman, when he was a delegate, tried. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why they consider someone who gets released from prison on parole probation as having served their time in a free person, because they're still not. They still have a sentence from the state. They have not completed their sentence yet, so they are not a free man or woman or whatever. believe that when someone is paroled from our 3 state prisons or parole and probation, who have not done a day for day, who are not free and clear, need to go back to the jurisdiction that sentenced them and have a home plan there. They'll tell you that they have a home plan here. Let me tell you what a home plan consists of. Someone who says, yes, we will take them, we have a bed for them. That's a home plan. That is not what a home plan used to be. A home plan used to be a home plan. That you were gonna come out, you were gonna be with someone responsible, you were gonna live there, you were gonna get a job, you were gonna do all these things. That's what a home plan was. That's not what it is. I mean, that may be still a definition, but that's not what happens.
So it sounds like what needs to change is the home plan
Well,
requirements.
again, no, I don't believe somebody who comes to, let's just say, go to Baltimore City, commits a crime, they're from New York, they get sentenced in Baltimore, they end up at MCTC, RCI, MCI, and then when they get paroled, they stay here. Somehow. Someone, they found a girlfriend or whatever, and now they got a home plan. No, go back to Baltimore where they were sentenced, let them have their home plan there, do their parole and probation, and guess what? When they become a free and clear individual, yeah, sure, you're allowed to move any place in the free world you want to move. I mean, that'll accept you, but, you know.
When does gatekeepers get involved? With every release, or is there like a parole, like, how is that
Yeah,
communicated?
most releases, gatekeepers is involved. And most of the guys that gatekeepers meet at the gate are from this county.
Yeah.
From this area. Very rarely does gatekeepers meet anyone that has not been arrested here from here.
Because
Yep.
he works with the county jail, right?
Yeah,
And there
yeah.
are people,
Yep,
It's county jail.
yeah.
there are people. And with the prison. I mean, there's not a lot that he meets, that gatekeepers will go meet, that is not from this community.
Right.
Do we have?
But that does not mean that people still don't get
Yeah, it
a home
doesn't mean
plan
that,
here and.
but yeah.
Right, I was just
Yeah.
curious, because I know that they're heavily, obviously, Bill is heavily involved with, the
With the
release and
reentry.
with the reentry, and,
For people from this community,
So
sure.
maybe that's a
I
conversation
get
we could
that.
have with
right.
Bill.
But
And
do they,
that's fine.
but what does that home
Conversation
plan
we
look
could
like
have
too?
with Bill.
Yeah.
Is the question.
Yeah,
I mean,
because that's,
what does that, I mean, okay, so
bad.
what does, I'm curious to that home
I
plan
mean,
as
at least
well.
we stopped, allowing a home plan at, the Salvation Army, and that's not a home plan.
Well, that's not, a step. That's
You
not,
know, or Reach, because Reach was doing it for a while, if you recall. So that stopped, supposedly. Still, I mean, I don't know if it's still that way or not, but that's the way it was, so.
I know the recovery houses, for instance, one of the guys, he came home to a recovery house and then got in trouble, and that's why I think you were talking about the home plan that's needed, because then there's no recovery house that he can go to now. And so there's a bunch of people that have been released to recovery houses, that may be from a different area.
Well,
but
there
as
are
far as-
ones that get sentenced from other jurisdictions to recovery houses.
Yes,
too.
yes, and whenever they get in trouble or they get kicked out of the
Kicked out,
recovery
yeah.
house, then they're
They
on
don't
the
take them back.
streets.
No, they don't put them on the van and take them back. Now, they'll put them on the van and bring them here, but they won't put them on the van and take them back. They just end up on our street. All right, so that's my first.
Bill.
Yeah, but that's along the lines what you said with the home plan and treatment services. It's-
For court order.
Mhm.
Are there any,
I have,
I was going to the next one.
no, go ahead.
Are there any projects that we'd like to offer up for bond money? The field house, any other project we want to?
Well, yeah, I think that remains a legislative priority. Sorry, I missed that one. I
Okay.
think I assumed it was implied.
Okay,
that one.
just to get it out there.
That really
like to
big thing
continue
we're
that.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's implied to the degree that state funding is going to tie us to extended timelines again, too. In other words, I mean, you have a presentation where I don't know what the right word is, proprietor, vendor, operator, is ready to move forward, is accepting of all of the cost component conditions to do so. And I don't want the next round of funding to be tied to something that says, oh, now it extends it to another period in time.
Well, I don't know if it was in the governor's budget, if that would be the case. And if we were to have to bond money to build it and got state money, can't we use that money to reimburse, pay the bond? So I think that would eliminate the time frame issue.
But we don't want to go forward if it's going to extend the time frame.
If we don't have to.
If we don't have to, correct.
I'm sorry, well, go ahead.
No, that's all.
Did
Yeah,
you-
I got none.
I'm aware, yeah.
Yeah. I want to have a discussion with our state legislatures, to amend the Good Samaritan law, to allow to have some teeth in there when it comes to, not the letter of the law, but I guess the meaning of what I think they were trying to accomplish. I mean, I get it, if I overdose and you're there and you call for me and someone comes to help me and saves my life and you have drug paraphernalia or whatever on you, you don't get charged even if the police come. But there's no consequence for the user, for the one who got called on. Martinsburg files a Good Samaritan law in West Virginia that has some teeth at least, that says that, I need to go to a court-approved program or I get charged if I don't attend a court-approved program. I don't know what that looks like, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying at least there's something. There's a consequence for using illegal drugs and using city resources. There's a consequence. And currently, right now, there's absolutely no consequence whatsoever. So I believe that we should have a discussion with them at least to find out that, listen, we get the meaning, we understand it, we want to save people, but, if I gotta get called on 100 times and there's no consequence, I'm gonna continue to do what I do with no reason to change.
So Martinsburg has several things that we don't. I'll go ahead and let everyone on the floor guess what that is that they have that we don't.
A 24-hour crisis center?
Yeah.
Is that what they have?
And a detox center.
I guess.
I don't know if that.
Just saying.
Well,
but-
just saying that, I don't know
Wow.
if that is a court approved, I mean, I don't know.
No, and
But there has to be
I hear
something.
what you're saying, and contrary to what you probably believe, I agree with you to an extent on this. You can't repeal the Good Samaritan law, people will die, or people will wait 20 more minutes to hide their drugs before they
I'm not
call.
talking
I mean,
about
that's all it's gonna do.
Talking about amending.
The thing is, one, forcing people into treatment historically doesn't work. I mean, there's a million studies that show that. I get the concept of where you're coming from though, right? But, okay, let's say that happens. Let's say I overdose and you're saying, all right, you gotta go somewhere, we're gonna charge you. Where am I going? Where am I going? That's the problem. Beds aren't just available like this.
Well, let me ask you a question.
And that's the
Our
problem.
drug court,
Not ours.
the state's drug court.
Okay.
Sorry. mean,
Well, I just think
ours,
that
that's community.
with all the
that we
discussion
have here.
going on, we
The
should
state's
differentiate
drug court
who owns what.
has a program. I mean, the people in that have to have be on a program, right?
They just
That's what I'm
graduated
talking-
their
I'm sure
first
that's what
class.
Martinsburg talks about in theirs. But if we're allowing someone, we send engine 2, we send 2 cop cars, there's a CRS bus, and then a chase car, you got 5 pieces of equipment, you got 10 people, who spend 35, 40 an hour there, and then the person decides that they don't want to be treated once they bring them back, and they walk away. There's no consequence. There's nothing.
But unfortunately, people with substance use disorders don't really care about the consequences.
I get that. We have to make them care, Shelley.
So you can't make them care,
Sure
that's
you
the
can.
problem. So, but I think though, back to Mayor Keller's suggestion about increasing the staff at the health department, helping to do that. Because there's been studies that if someone is in a trained position, not CRS, they're trained, but someone that is a peer recovery support person that is right there at the time, like they are on it, and they are there to help guide that individual to get treatment, that is more effective than saying, if you don't do this, we're going to charge you.
And to add on to that.
And that's the thing, but we just don't have those resources right now.
Well, we got a drug court, we have a resource.
But there's not enough staff. We heard that a couple of weeks ago, so while I do understand, and I do think that, resources and cost and things like that is definitely an issue, but I do think that there is another way, rather than saying, if you don't do this, you're going to get charged, because that just sends down another spiral out of control. It just does. So going back to what her priority.
Okay, that's a priority of mine. Whether we adopt it as a priority for this council or not, it's up to you guys.
I think you are right, though. It does tie into employees and staffing. And after the meeting that we had with the service providers, because I forgot to invite Mobile Crisis, and that was my fault, I did meet with them. And they now have funding for 24-hour response to respond with HPD and with the sheriff's department, and they can't fill the
Yeah,
positions.
I think that one of the most enlightening things that I took from when we had the various social service independent individual, both state and private nonprofit groups in here, was that I don't mean to belittle this when I say this. I hope the folks within those organizations don't take it this way, but within our community, it seems to be an 8 to 4 operation.
Yep.
And so I'm sitting here listening to Bob say, well, the court should remand people to these specific programs so that they can get the appropriate treatment, and the community doesn't become the place where they're left to self-treat, because they're not getting that on a continual basis through the period of time in which they, let's say they voluntarily want to be treated. And I'm trying to marry the two positions here of people should be remanded to these spaces for this purpose, and the other side saying, well, we don't want these spaces to exist for where we want to remand the people to. I don't know how you do both. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because I hear what you're saying. You're saying, look, if a person continually commits this act of self-degradation, right, which has a deleterious, if that's the right word, impact on the community, right, presence, then our objective is to help that individual into an atmosphere, a controlled and medical, clinical atmosphere in which to get treatment. But the only entities doing that are the independent, state-limited organizations, because you heard folks that sat in this side of the room that said, hey, we're a state agency and this is how we operate and here's our limitations, and that was very eye-opening to me. And then you hear the nonprofits in the room saying, hey, this is how we're operating, and we don't have the same clinical staff, or we don't have the same manpower, but we're all doing it 8 to 4. I don't know how you then can say, well, we're gonna create a legislative system that forces individuals into a place,
And there's no place.
but not have the place
Yep.
in which to do it. Because the only place to do it appears to be these organizations that are operating 8 to 4 that are finding individual places like hotels and apartments that they happen to know landlords will accommodate the individual in a very temporary and piecemeal fashion. So if you want one to happen, the other has to happen. Because by default, if we don't, then what's happening now is going to continue to happen, is that our community is the treatment facility. The organizations that are operating independently are the treatment personnel. And everybody just seems to agree that whether you're from the left side of the argument or the right side of the argument, that's what's happening. But nobody like wants to say, okay, we're agreeing that's what's happening. We're agreeing that's what, isn't happening successfully. So how do we accept that, yes, that's what's happening, and we're going to make it happen successfully? And I haven't heard that yet, because I haven't heard, those sides of perspective, I don't know, come to terms with that reality. And politically want to, like, mesh the two.
I just can't understand for the life of me how people's health has become political.
Yeah.
I would.
People's health has become political.
People say, well,
Health.
can we agree on one thing as a body? That illegal drug use is illegal, right?
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's why they call it illegal, okay? So what we have done in this community, and what we have done through the Good Samaritan law, and what we're allowing to happen every single day, is we're allowing people to use illegal drugs and walk away. That's what we're allowing to happen.
So illegal drugs of the 90s is different from illegal drugs of
Heroin is illegal.
2022, though.
It doesn't
I hear
matter what
on
you
that.
it's an illegal drug. Is it not?
Yes,
Okay, that's, all right.
but not all drugs are illegal. I mean, as we,
Some are prescribed.
So,
Yeah, I work in it every day, and if you don't have a place to send people.
Listen, I
there's-
get it. I do. Maybe this forces the hands of those who are opposed to having a place to get a place.
Yeah.
If you at least have some consequence that shows people, say, listen, if you wanna curtail this activity on our city streets affecting our citizens every single day, you've got to do this too.
And most of them are our citizens, that mental illness and drug
Yeah.
use, and, I mean, they are residents.
But there's other
of-
citizens too.
But the majority,
You
I
know?
work in it every day, the majority is from Washington County.
But I get it. But there's other citizens in this city who are not using illegal drugs, who don't have mental issues, who are
I
on the
agree.
street, and it's affecting those people too.
I don't
So
think anyone
maybe we open
disagrees
the
on
eyes
that.
of everybody and say, give something that has some teeth so that we can hold people accountable and have some place for them to go to be held accountable for.
I think
I mean, I'm pretty sure even our senator and our delegate believe that illegal drug use is illegal. And if we want to get that off our streets and reclaim our streets, we need to have an alternative to just locking them away. Okay, I
that
believe
doesn't
they
work.
believe that. But you're not gonna change it until you change whatever view Annapolis has of this epidemic that we're in. So if you can get them to agree that there should be some kind of consequence at some point, then maybe people fall in line and say, yeah, we need a crisis center in order to do this.
And I think this is the consequences of the crisis center not being something that could have happened a year ago or whenever.
I can't control that part.
Listen, I
I'm
don't
just
think this
saying,
is the
you know.
citizens' consequences. I think this is consequences of leadership, of failing to do what needed to be done before.
I can't control
listen,
that part.
and we have one right now, right? It's the hotels we talk about. It's the apartment buildings we know about downtown. It's our sidewalks, it's our parking lots. I mean, this is happening, so you can't just sit there and hold your breath till you're blue in the face and say, well, we're not going to move forward with these metrics, because if we don't, then the incarceration approach will resolve the matter. Because it hasn't,
Well,
and it's
nothing's
not going
changed
to.
so far either, Kristen. We aren't winning this. We are losing every single day. Every single day we're losing.
Actually,
We're not
prior
gaining
to
ground.
prior to COVID, there was improvement made for the first time in 9 years
Okay.
across the country. Like drastic improvement, and then COVID hit, and then people were isolated, people were using drugs, people were using whatever they could get their hands
You
on.
ask the people in this city,
I don't
they will
disagree.
tell you it is not getting better, it
I
is
know,
getting
and I
worse.
can
every
hear
single
it,
day.
I can hear it now, it's all my fault, it's all our fault, and
No,
everything
I'm
else.
not saying, I don't
We
think they're
see it
saying,
too.
I think they're saying the
Well, there's-
system is broken.
Yeah. We all
Somewhere,
see
let's
it
fix
too.
the system somewhere.
We expect we expect individuals, I say we, as a, it's kind of society, expect these individuals that, overdose in the middle of the night, right? That, like you said, the Good Samaritan law doesn't, provide consequences or anything like that. And just like Kristen said, with organizations that are open from 8 to 4. So we're expecting the most
Guys,
challenging.
I'm not arguing against what
But
you want.
my point
I'm
is
not.
that you can't put the cart before, you can't put your priority, which we understand, I understand, before having the facilities available. Because I have worked a Washington County Recovers event many, many Fridays out of the month. And these individuals that are coming to USMH that want treatment that day, that are paid for with scholarships, if it's 4 o'clock or if it's 3 o'clock, they're not getting in. And you better hope, and so we have to provide like some kind of hotel experience for them to be able to stay
Hope that
clean.
they're still there.
And in order for them not to die over the weekend.
Yep.
That is, I have been there, I have seen it, you can ask anyone. We cannot ask for like stricter enforcement or to amend it before we have the availability for somewhere for them to go and to be treated and to get better. It just can't happen.
Why can't it happen simultaneously?
I just think that if we don't provide, if there isn't somewhere for them to go and for them to get the treatment that they deserve and
Oh, I
need,
get it, I get it.
then you can't say like, oh, you're gonna go to, the consequences going to jail, or consequences going to sit in front of a peer support person, which we don't have. I mean, it's just like, it just goes, just constantly turning.
And so will we continue to do what we do?
No,
which is
no,
all
I think this
No.
conversation is really important.
I
I
think
think
it is
that we
good.
have to, the priority just has to be the right priority, in the right order. The priority has to be correctly,
And I keep hearing you say "we" and
Yeah.
"ours," and I just don't know who you're referring to, because we are not in charge of the health department, or mental health authority, or DSS, or DGS. We're the accepting space for all of those operations. So, we're not in charge or we don't provide the
From
funding.
now on, I'm gonna put a sign
to-
on my
to-
shirt that says, "We" means the community at large. That way you understand when I say
No,
"we,"
I
I
hear
don't
where he's
mean
going
me
now.
or this body, I mean we.
When you say we
As a
keep
community.
accepting, like I just,
But the county needs to be at this table for this conversation, just like the email fiasco we had that the county was left out of. Like, we get all the blame all the time on things that we don't really oversee, and we sit here and try to figure out
100%
solutions
the
because
county
we
needs to
are
be involved.
equally as
100%.
frustrated as everyone else.
100%.
But the
But
blame
we're
is
talking
always,
about our legislative priorities right
Yes,
now.
we
That's
are.
why I brought that up. That's one of mine, okay?
we hear you.
Sorry I got off track.
I don't think you did. I don't think,
It's a discussion that needed.
yeah.
no, I think
No,
I'm trying to
it's-
figure out, because I agree that there has to be some amendment as it applies to recognition that we can't continue to accept being, that receiving station without some, inspection of how that process gets from point A to point Z, and those things within it that aren't working. And when agencies sit out here and say, look, we don't have an off-hour, service provider. You know what I mean? If somebody calls us and if we're the entity the state has directed to be doing item X, and an individual gets out at 9 o'clock at Meredith, on a Thursday night, item X ain't available. But the state dynamics have set it up that this, you know what I mean, that's the protocol that works as it applies to addressing the issue, and so that, somehow that has to change.
And this is our problem. This is our city. We represent every single individual in this city, and we all know that it's a problem, and I agree that it is our problem. It is not our organizations that we're in control of, but it is something that we, as this body, as this administration, we have to figure it out, or start it.
And we cannot do that independently.
That's correct.
We
That's
are,
correct, but we have to know.
we are the lowest of the jurisdictional fabrications that exist.
Correct.
In this community.
But it is still our issue. Still our issue.
Bob, was that all?
That's it for me.
All right. Shelley?
That's it.
Kristen?
I have a selfish one
Okay.
that I bring up repeatedly, right?
We're doing the indoor sports complex.
No.
You got another one? You have another one.
No, it just, I talked to Scott about this before, and it's, that cottage food industry entities in this era of
That's something for the local.
online and virtual sales do not have the same flexibilities that cottage food industry businesses do in our directly neighboring states. And it's a disadvantage to cottage food businesses.
I think that's something our local,
Business
the
model.
local lobbyists would be able to help
Yeah.
with. It didn't get,
I-
the traction wasn't there.
I saw someone selling soup on Facebook the other day and thought
Listen,
about
are
you.
you trying to make me mad?
Yes.
I'm already mad. Join the club.
Yeah. Bob got us all fired up. What are you talking about?
Everybody.
No, I agree.
Make
Can you,
county
can you?
Well, my job here is done.
Yes, good job.
I still got
Way
all
to
the
go.
information he
Way to
provided.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
gonna
I know.
say,
I'm like,
I still have everything
It's
we can get
crazy.
to, we can get to the
that's a
lobbyists.
clear.
was that all, Kristen?
Yeah.
Since we're building a field house.
Now you're gonna talk about food.
I haven't
Keisha?
checked my emails, I don't even know where it's from.
Okay.
Oh,
Tiara?
No, I was gonna bring up the blighted abandoned properties, because I looked at our goals and strategic plans and see what we still need to tackle.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I did too.
Yep.
Good plan. So do you have more?
No, just, I would just offer up, if you all know, I talked to Martinsburg City Manager, Winchester, Chambersburg, we all talk once a month, and this is a monthly topic that we talk about as far as the homeless and addiction services. And I know that Mayor Knowles, we've talked to Mayor Knowles and City Manager Baldwin about this and other topics. Actually, Chief Swartwood, Police Chief Swartwood in Martinsburg touched on this a little bit on a radio show today. I'd be more than happy to reach back out to them and understand what their dynamic is they work through. It's not just Martinsburg that deals with this. It is Martinsburg through Berkeley County, through the state of West Virginia. And I know for a fact that Martinsburg has similar issues. I think on the same scale that we do here. I see it when I go see my son down there. And this isn't we're in this alone type of thing. Hagerstown's the only place it happens. You can ask the 600 experts on social media that may seem otherwise. But there has,
712.
it's 601.
It was down.
But
Up there.
there are, everyone's trying to find solutions. And there has to be there has to be something in the middle of lock them up or let them go free. There has to be something in the middle. And trying to find that middle and keep it not political, we'll be Nobel Prize winners if we can figure that one out. But something is there. And I'm happy to have that conversation with them to see, and they may even want to come up and talk. We've offered to go talk to Martinsburg about some things, and because Martinsburg just seems to be more like us than the other municipalities.
Demographics
that-
are much
Yeah.
alike, yeah.
That reminded me too, Chief Kiefer and I had talked about the drug house ordinance in Martinsburg, that is not legal in Maryland. I'm gonna repeat that again, because I
Right.
saw it commented 4 times on HPD's post today. The Martinsburg drug house ordinance is not legal in Maryland.
No.
That's why we don't do it. But maybe there's a way that we could figure out something close to it, and I know that that had been worked on before, but something that
Right.
we should bring back.
Yeah, because that not only keeps those using, you're talking about those using being held accountable, but those facilitating being held accountable.
Right.
That these folks that rent out properties or whatever, the hotels, there's accountability across the board here that needs to be, that I would think need to be addressed. And I would just also say from the administrative side, I know HPD, HFD, CRS that have to respond to these calls over and over and over again. It does strain, and it could be whether we have 90 officers or whether we have 190 officers, it's still a strain. And these guys work and girls work tirelessly to try to help as many as they can. And whether they get there in 2 minutes, it might take them an hour. We spoke to the group yesterday. It's going to take a team effort, like we discussed in here yesterday, to get this addressed. And it is, spade to spade, it is bad. It is bad. And it's gonna be bad for a little while. But there's an answer in there somewhere. We just have to work together to find it, and that's work together, us, with everyone that you've mentioned, but the business owners, plus the citizens that are being affected. We all have to work together. And it's not throwing people under the bus just because you don't agree with them politically. This is human. This is not politics. This is human issues.
exactly right.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else to add about legislative priorities? All right, so I will have our lobbyists come up sometime in September. We can get this down on paper, work it out a little more, and maybe reach out to staff and see if there's anything they'd like to add, and then we'll go from there. All right, City Administrator.
Just a couple of things, Mayor. Friday, August 12th is the annual Crumpy's Donut Alley 5K Run Walk. The event benefits the Wounded Warrior Project and Mason-Dixon Warrior Adventures. Registration at 6 o'clock on the day of the event. Go to www.crumpysdonuts.com for more information on that, or I'm sure if you stop by and got some donuts, they'd help you out there too. The Neighborhood First Medal of Honor Group will hold their Day of Hope event at Wheaton Park on Saturday, August 13th. The event is free, and it's an opportunity to provide neighbors and visitors an opportunity to meet outreach and government agencies that provide free services and socialize in a community fellowship. The event starts at 10, ends at 6. And the City of Hagerstown will hold the 3rd community yard sale at Fairgrounds Park on Saturday, August 13th. Come early, find those special deals amongst all the vendors signed up to sell their wares. And that's all from me, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember McIntyre.
Just a couple of things. So the Hagerstown Youth Advisory Council applications will be open on August 29th, which is the first day of school, so they will be closing on September 12th. There are quite a few graduate members, so there are several openings. So it is city schools, city private schools, and homeschooled individuals. We're really trying to focus on more of a freshman, sophomore kind of influx to eliminate the mass exit, like all the seniors. And also, many of you are aware that we've been working on the NV program and its strategic plan since pre-COVID in 2019, and have been working with Ernesto Olivares, who is a council person in Santa Rosa, former law enforcement officer, and was also the director of the Santa Rosa Youth Violence Prevention Network. And we are having a summit for the youth violence for NV the week of August 24th. There will be a summit on August 24th in the evening at the museum. You'll all be invited, but Ernesto will be here from Tuesday to Saturday and being for that whole entire week, and we'll be talking with individuals in the community about putting our strategic plan together once and for all. So it's really a great opportunity and such a blessing to have him still involved and still having all the partners involved. So there'll be more information to come, but thought I'd get it out there. So- Oh, and happy birthday, Kristen.
I'm singing, it's my turn.
Are you? I'm not doing that. I'm not singing.
Councilmember Brugy,
I said enough.
Councilmember Burnett,
Happy birthday.
Councilmember Alshire.
Kristen.
I don't have anything. Oh, yes, I do, I'm sorry.
Only because it's your birthday.
Yeah.
No. My daughter's birthday is tomorrow, so I want to say happy birthday to her. When you have a kid born next to you, you lose your birthday.
Or grandchild like I.
And speaking of that, my kids are super pumped that the skate park is opening
Yes.
soon, because they love to longboard, and we don't have a lot of places
So exciting.
on Virginia Avenue to do that safely, and so, yeah. Just wanna
Thrilled.
say thanks.
Councilmember Martinez.
So I just want to say congratulations to the staff of the Wheaton Park Community Summer Camp. 5 weeks ends. It's Friday is the ending of 5 weeks. It went by very fast. And thank you, Madam Mayor, and Scott, and also Brittany for the kids coming through. And so the older group of kids, 9 through 14 came to City Hall. And then afterwards, we walked a cultural trail, and they had lunch at Horizon Goodwill's Clubhouse. And then the littles they walked the whole way to the museum. And so they went to go see the Jonathan Street exhibit. And then they met us at the clubhouse. And so the clubhouse hosted 45 kids for lunch.
That's
And then,
fantastic.
yeah, it was awesome.
Love
And
it.
the littles and the older group took a picture at the same location on the cultural trail at 2 different times. I thought that was really cool, their group picture. And so just thank you to.
Bunch of kids.
Yeah, they were awesome. Thank you to the community for coming together and making sure
lovely.
that happened for the Jonathan Street community.
That's where it starts.
And,
where it
yeah.
starts.
Oh, and congratulations to my last child. He moved in to his dorm today in Ohio. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. And happy birthday, Kristen.
Thank you.
All right. The only other thing I have to add is, well, 2 things. One, thanks to former delegate Aruna Miller, Lieutenant Governor candidate, for coming to Hagerstown on Friday and meeting with us and touring Hagerstown, talking about what January looks like. So we were excited to have her. And thank you to everyone who attended the meeting. Here yesterday, we had McDonald's, Sheetz, Family Dollar, and
Dollar General.
Dollar General, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
It's a new
I know.
place down.
I know, and CVS, all from the Camden Avenue area with HPD and staff members discussing some of the ongoing issues they're having in the area, how the city can help, how HPD can help, and also connected them to some resources they didn't know about, such as our app, and also got them starting a group text with all the managers so they can communicate if there's any issues going on, and when to contact HPD, and some other things like no trespass orders and whatnot that hopefully will help them out, because we want their business to succeed and help our community out. So, go ahead.
I did have a conversation today with a person and said that one of the things that came out was those 4 entities welcomed us to put cameras up. And I hope we're moving in that direction to help out. So,
Looking at, yep.
So overall, good meeting. And with that, hope to see everyone out and about this weekend, the rest of the week, and happy birthday, Kristen. We're
Happy
adjourned.
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
We'll get this whole gallery singing. Barbershop.
And welcome to Council Wrap. I'm Wes Decker, joined by City Engineer Rodney Tissue, and wanted to talk to Rodney a little bit today about some of the projects that the engineering department has in the works. And there are a number of them from July here through the end of the year. And I know you have a lot going on all the time, but is this one of the busier times of the year?
It's a pretty lengthy list that we have right now, so we have a lot of good things that are happening in the community, and we want to keep it rolling.
I'd like to start at City Park. One particular project that I know a number of people had an eye on for a long time and had been a bit of a bane of our existence for a period of time is the fence at City Park. So where is that complete at this point? I mean, you can certainly see that work has been done. Where do we stand on that?
It's substantially complete. We have a small punch list of items for the contractor to finish, but the average person driving by there, it looks like it's complete. That project in particular, some projects are easy, some projects have their challenges. That one had its challenges. You think, it's a fence, how hard can it be? Yeah. But between supply chain issues, a contractor that we have to terminate their contract, and just delays by the current contractor, it wound up being 18 months.
Yeah, it's like whatever could go wrong went wrong.
It was a perfect storm of ugliness. So I'm glad it's finished. I think the final product is appealing, and I still like that the fence is there as a barrier, but you can still see nicely into the park.
Yeah, I think aesthetically, it's a pretty good addition to the park. I think it really is. I wasn't sure what it might look like initially, but now that it's in place, I think it's a nice addition. And something else that you've been looking at and moving towards making some progress on is the band shell at City Park. Again, I mean, I don't know how you keep all of these projects in some sort of priority list or how all of that works. Maybe you can talk about that in a little bit. But let's get to the band shell, because I know that's one, it's shown a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah, it hasn't had any major renovations in decades. So the scope of the work there, and we have a pre-construction meeting tomorrow, and then they're going to start working on some of this very soon, is repairing some of the rotted and deteriorating trim and flashings on the outside, painting the entire structure. But the big part of that project is tearing out the stage that's in pretty poor condition now, the exterior part of the stage, the part that's actually exposed to the elements, tearing it out. We're going to put a concrete deck on it, and it'll have a concrete stage basically that'll last forever.
Wow, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And I guess to your comment about how do we keep these things going and how do you prioritize things?
Yeah.
In this day and age, getting the funding lined up and complying with all the funding that we get from the multitude of different places is almost as hard anymore as designing it and getting it constructed. So once you have the funding lined up, getting it designed, getting it constructed then falls into place. And a lot of times what delays projects, such as Wheaton Park, what's delaying that is the funding requirements. Different things that they need, boxes they need checked before we can actually start construction, or bidding for that matter.
What kind of a monkey wrench did COVID throw into all of that? Because you had a lot of agencies working from home, including those at the state, and a lot of funding coming from the state.
Yeah, all of our projects through some of the state agencies that we used to have fairly good turnaround when we submit a set of plans for them to review, and they would get back to us. That is all much longer than it used to be. And I don't know the reasons exactly, but I know COVID was kind of the line where things really started to get delayed in some of those state reviews and state funding. A lot of our money comes from state highway, state Maryland Department of the Environment, and it's critical, again, till we get that funding lined up before we can start these projects.
A couple of very visible projects, or ones that certainly will be. One involves the stadium downtown, which is not the city's project, but the city does have some things that it needs to do, some things that it's already done as far as the cultural trail and what's in close proximity to where the stadium will be going. So can you talk about where that stands right now?
Right. So we have some things that we have to move off the site to allow the stadium authority, what they're going to do is come in when they're ready to start and fence in the entire area. So things that we need to salvage off the cultural trail, the lights, the benches, the trash cans, the art, the in the area that we're talking about where the stadium's going to go. All those things, we are storing them, and with the hope that they'll be reinstalled when the cultural trail is basically realigned around the stadium. Also, we're in the throes of designing a parking deck that'll be on Antietam Street, about 250 feet from the new stadium. And we're working through the land acquisition, the design of that, and hopefully that'll be out to bid towards the end of this year.
Wow, that's a quick turnaround on
We're
that
hoping,
one.
because it's going to take 14 months at least to
Yeah.
build it. So if we're playing baseball in April of 2024,
Right.
we need to get started on it early next year.
Yeah, when you start back timing on that, it's not a lot of time to get that done. And the other one would be the field house project, because certainly anyone can see that Municipal Stadium is gone at this point. I'm still blown away every time I drive by there just to see the expanse of land. I don't think with the stadium walls being there before that you could really get a sense of just how much land was there. But now that that's gone, you see all of this land. And can you talk a little bit about, I know we'll be talking about more as far as the Fieldhouse project is concerned as Phase 2 comes to a conclusion. I believe we'll get another presentation on that, and then
September.
it'll be brought before Mayor and Council to proceed with Phase 3. But where are we on that at this juncture?
So the construction drawings are about 30% complete for the construction of the building and for the site planning. We're continuing to assemble what they call a capital stack, the funding to build the project. Last week, we submitted a request to the county for hotel motel tax funds. The council tonight talked about seeking more state money. And as we try to assemble all that money, with the goal being to put it out to bid early next spring, and possibly starting construction then, say, August of next year.
You talked a little bit about the delay on Wheaton Park at this point. Do you have any idea right now when that will sort of break loose and they'll be able to make some progress there?
Yeah, so it's about $430,000 project. It's funded completely by Community Development Block Grant, which is a federal program. Federal money always has far more complications than state or certainly local money. But we're at the process right now where the staff is having everything submitted to the review agencies at HUD, Housing and Urban Development, and they are finalizing everything there. We're hoping that we can put it out to bid the middle of October. We would potentially bring it back to City Council for award in December and start construction February, March next year.
What kind of feedback have you heard on Pangbourne Park project that, as far as I know, is completed except for restoration of Hamilton Run? I guess there's still work to be done on that.
It's complete.
Oh, that's complete too?
Everything's complete.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I was over there a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, man, what a transformation.
Yeah.
Just with everything that has been done there with the lake, with the fence, with everything. I mean, it's just, it looks like it's just been revitalized in a big way.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of that project. We've gotten a tremendous amount of positive feedback about that work that we did there, and it went really well. And going back to talking about COVID, there was a period of time there for about a year, 18 months, where we were getting construction work done for 50 cents on the dollar because we're the only people that were putting projects out to bid.
Right.
We stayed open.
Yeah.
We put projects out to bid, and we got Pangbourne Lake done for about 60 cents on the dollar what we thought it was going to cost. Now things are shifted the other way, and we're paying a premium for any construction. But Pangbourne turned out to be a beautiful facility and very economically done. There's a fountain that goes in the lake yet that the Parks Department's working on, and as soon as they have that ready, they have it in their possession. It just needs to be installed.
How about something that isn't quite so glorious and maybe for most just actually throws a little bit of an issue into getting around at times, but I mean it's usually for a short period of time, and that's pavement preservation. Where do we stand with that at this point in time? Because I believe that's something that we're sort of, no pun intended, on the road to.
We just completed a lot of paving throughout the city. See South Potomac, Church Street, South Burhans Boulevard, all that is finished paving and getting striped. We have one street left to pave, Interval Road, in this year's contract. And then a whole new contract was just awarded by Mayor and Council. Some of that patchwork will start this fall, and I feel like we're shifting now to do most of our paving in the spring.
Okay.
It's more conducive for getting a better job when the temperatures are warming up than if we try to jam it into the end of the year. Plus, we need to get the roads striped, and the temperatures have to be conducive for that. So there's a list of, I think, about 20 streets that'll be paved next spring.
Anything that I haven't mentioned that sort of sticks out to you as being significant?
Well, tonight, the mayor and council awarded, not per se the contract, but allocated the funding for professional court. So I've worked here 30 years, and one of the first things I did in 1992 when I came here was looked at a plat for the MKS subdivision, which is the subdivision off of Eastern Boulevard, that showed a road on paper called Professional Court, and at the end of it, it said road to extend across the creek. 30 years later, tonight, they awarded the contract to finish that road, to make Professional Boulevard 4 lanes, to do some changes to Eastern Boulevard to accommodate the 4-lane traffic, signal modifications, connect to the beautiful bridge that Washington County did, and extend it over to Yale Drive. Truly a partnership between the city and the county, something you don't see very often, just being frank. Probably the last big one was Edgewood, Edgewood Drive, 10, 15 years ago. So I'd love to see us do more projects like this with the county, but this is a great example of when we do get together, we can make good things happen.
And what's that like to see that nearing completion after all of this time?
Yeah, you know, you think about these projects and it's like, well, we can get that done in a few years. This took 30 years.
Yeah, literally 30 years.
30 years. And,
Yeah.
you know, just for a whole bunch of reasons. Political will would be one thing, but the funding, believing in the traffic, it's a traffic solution. The hospital relocating was a big player in all this because then that helped precipitate the need for it. A lot of things happened over those 3 decades that have gotten us to this point. And when it's done, everybody will say, yeah, we're glad that it finally happened.
I bet you could write a book about the last 30 years.
Yeah, there's, every project has a story behind it. And, yeah, every project has a story, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, there are plenty that you've accomplished to this point, and as I said, plenty here just to accomplish through the end of the year. So, you know, appreciate you talking about these with me today and giving people a little insight into what's still to come, what's been accomplished, and the fact that, you know, you've been here taking care of business for a lengthy period of time, and I think the greatest legacy, perhaps, for you is that I have never heard anyone say a bad word about Rodney Tissue. I just haven't.
You're just not talking to the right people.
Oh, okay, well, maybe that's it. But hey, that's good for you. Well, thanks for your time, Rodney.
I appreciate you saying that.
Appreciate
Thank
that. And that is it for us today. Thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you next time. For now, that's a wrap.